got a Wednesday news update for you in regards to what's happening around the Territory in today's news, and all credit to NT News for the information we've got going here today. So hope you're all well, and we'll get on with it. So first item was that the compo reforms worry business. So the workers' compensation has been reformed by the NT government. It's been pushed through, and reading up on it, the Territory business community has flagged serious concerns with proposed changes to the NT workers' compensation scheme. The government proposed changes include reinstating coverage for injuries sustained travelling to and from work. The Chamber of Commerce, Greg Bicknell, CEO, said he was concerned that the changes would increase the cost burden on many businesses that were already struggling. The last thing we need is the increase in cost in a small market, he said. And I've got to agree with it. The big question here is from small businesses, where does it start and where does it stop? If you're looking at workers' compensation to and from work, at what point is it classed as to work? Is it getting organised for work, getting ready for work? Do you slip over in the shower and then because you're getting ready for work, it's classed there? Or is it travelling to work from the time you're up in the car, etc., etc.? So it's something that's a bit of a concern. I think it needs to be clarified and cleared up for small business owners out there, and so it is very clear. But it has been pushed through, and it had been reformed from the previous government. So another highlight is the cruise ship coronavirus evacuees expected to fly to Darwin on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. Last week we had the first lot of evacuees from China come in, and they're staying at the 3,500 man camp at the Impex camp, which was the old gas mining camp facilities there. Now one of the challenges that we've got, or the concerns me, is it backs right onto a school, and there's been a lot of concern from parents, understandably, and I guess a lot of that comes back to knowledge, but it is backing onto the school. So, however, moving on is the cruise ship, the Diamond Princess, has had Australians on there, and they will be getting evacuated and arriving in Darwin. So, typical Darwin style that been very welcoming overall for the evacuees, and it's not their fault, as we know. So. What else have we got there? The group will be quarantined at the former Impacts Village camp for 2 weeks. So they'll do their 14 days quarantine, and then I would imagine they'll be right to move on from there. So I guess we're lucky that we're not involved in it. So next story, remember those killed on a morning just like this? Well, if you didn't know, Darwin played a huge part in the World War, and the bombing of Darwin was bigger than Pearl Harbor. And if you ever get a chance, if you're in the area or you ever do come to Darwin, I highly recommend that you go to the War Memorial Museum. It gives you a big insight into it, and it's unfortunately something that's not talked about a lot in history in schools, but should be. So today is the commemorative day services that was on this morning for the bombing of Darwin. Next item, so 78 years, there you go, 78 years since the bombing of Darwin, and moving on to the next item. So time to bed down exactly what Darwin stands for. So the Property Council, and Ruth Palmer in charge of the Property Council, has basically put out there, we need to really have a good look at our brand and what does Darwin stand for before we go and put another $2 million into marketing of the NT. And look, I think she got a valid point. There's a little bit of confusion out there. As she notes, is it are we beaches with tropical weather, or are we emerging as a Pan-Asian capital city, resources and mining, arts and local culture, suburbs and cars, or a city and people? So I guess there's so much potential in the Territory in so many different ways, and I guess that's where she's sort of the point that she's getting to is let's really get the message clear on where we're going, what we're doing with it, rather than just scattergun approach. Rightio, there was once again, Property Council ran a seminar the other day, which was about some of the building rules, and we're seeing the challenges down south with cracked buildings and damaged buildings and wrong material used, which is causing a lot of concern from potential buyers, and will be affecting valuation. So Neil Sunners, one of the predominant builders up in the Territory, has basically hit out the building licenses are not really strong enough, and I can vouch for that in the construction industry. We are licensed builders to build a residential home up to 3 stories. However, I don't need a license if I want to go and build a 20 or 30 story commercial building, which doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is part of what the conversation was about, and the system and the way it works. I think the basic residential system works really well, but there is often questions asked on how it can be the case you don't need a license to actually build a larger building. So another one, now I sort of feel this is, as a landlord as myself, with a numerous amount of properties, I was surprised to hear this. And what's been happening is the NT government has pushed through that new Northern Territory, and I'll read it off, rental laws presuming tenants can keep their pets on a property have been slammed by the real estate industry for being a huge infringement on landlord property rights. So the short of it is, if you're a tenant, you can have a pet, and the government's has changed the bill to allow that to happen. So if you're a landlord, you don't want pets in the property, basically too bad. It's something you've got to cope. Now, the challenge I have is, depending on the property, as to whether pets are appropriate or not. I have no issues with people having pets, and pets are a part of our lives. The issue I have is that if you have a pet and the property says they don't want pets, well, that's the way it should be. Why are we so entitled that we have to take a pet into the property? You know, there's always a choice. We have choices and we can do it elsewhere. So that's my beef with it, that the fact that the rights of the landlord and the owner of the property is taken away through a do-gooder response from government. And I feel with the election coming up this year, we're going to see a lot more inappropriate and unwarranted changes to legislation, all for votes. Okay, doubts on Dan's bill. So if you are not aware, we don't have a Dan Murphy in Northern Territory, and it's been an ongoing saga for a very long time. Dan Murphy's has been looking at investing a considerable sum of money into the Territory, into a property and building, and firing up the Dan Murphy's brand in the Territory. However, there's been rejections from the Liquor Commission, and now, once again, I think the public view has been a lot of head shaking on what and why have we got to this point where Dan Murphy's is taking the government to court and appealing decisions to open up a store when we should be open arms embraced and welcoming any investment in the Territory at all. So it's been like I said, there's been a lot of head shaking going on for people, and just with why have we even got to this point? So government are looking at a change in legislation for that to happen, and the Liquor Commission, where there was something I read before, basically that they're going to hold off on applying or opposing the results until after the next Parliament sitting, so the changes can be made to legislation, which will hopefully assist in Dan Murphy's coming on board. But once again, strange situation, we shouldn't have it, and I think there's a bit of a minority out there which is pushing it in the wrong direction. Next news, blindsided Holden dealers were led on until moment of demise. Well, I mean, I can understand that being the case. You wouldn't imagine that a brand like Holden or GM would be letting the whispers out of the bag too quickly, but what a loss for Australia. Huge loss for Australia. I guess even though we haven't been making cars in Australia, we've also got a lot of sales and a lot of backup and service side from there. So there will be a lot of jobs lost over this, and you may or may not have heard our Prime Minister's noting that the amount of money that's been put into Holden to keep it going in the past, it seems like a bit of a kick in the gut. So that's the Australian icon is moving on. Okay, another good news story, I guess, is the gas market. And those who don't know, that the Territory had a moratorium on fracking of onshore gas, and there's a huge potential there for onshore gas. And so it's moving forward, and just runs through about the natural flow of gas. We have a large deposit in the Territory. The thing is, we've also got a lot of offshore gas that's being produced in the Territory, but the royalties of that offshore gas go straight to the federal government, where any onshore gas royalties come to the Northern Territory government. So as a money income for the NT, as it gets going and fires up, it'll be definitely a worthy cause. I know it's a touchy subject. A lot of people are for, a lot of people are against, and it's one of those things, and it's been a very political subject, and I think it'll be a political subject again, and we'll touch more on that soon. Gold into Barclay. There is more gold being where are we releasing a Barclay iron oxide copper gold super project. So more investment into gold, and with the economic situation globally, I think we'll see a lot of money go into gold moving forward as a safe haven for assets and etc. as time goes on. So I think we're going to see more gold mines or more investment into gold mines happening, and the territory has a quite substantial amount of gold mines out there. So granite's a boost for Newmount. So gold poured at Tanami Gold Coyote Gold Mine near the NT border in WA. And once again, another gold mine. So the Territory's Granite's gold mine in Tanami has helped international mining giant Newmount reach historic gold mineral reserves. The company's recorded a 53% increase on its 2018 level of 65.4 million ounces, closing out 2019 with gold reserves of over 100 million ounces. Great news if you're in gold, and as I said, well, I think we'll see a lot more of these gold mines, a lot more interest in gold mines as our global economic circumstances change through uncertainty. Farmers join forces. So there's the leaders in Australian agriculture will descend on Darwin for the 4th Northern Australia Food Futures Conference in April. Balancing agricultural development and environment is the theme. Food Futures is designed to lead the way in maximising the development of northern agriculture, driven by a combination of industry, government agencies and politicians. The thing with the north is we have a lot of rain, and I think it's really about, at the moment, it's about looking at how do we capture that and how do we utilise that as much as we can, because we do have a high amount of water, and a lot of that goes to waste. However, there's so much potential up here with the Ord River scheme, and as I said, with the amount of rain and water resources that we do have, with smart management and design, I think it can really move forward in long-term agriculture. So, land of opportunity. I've said it for a long time, and I guess that's why I moved to Darwin a long time ago, was this Darwin and Northern Territory oozes opportunity, as long as it's managed right. But the Northern Territory is gaining a reputation as a place where defence contracts can be done well and at a good price. Capability, quality and value are growing day by day. Several NT companies have won contracts as the military continues to build massive build up in Northern Australia. So there's a substantial sum of billions that has been allocated for the Northern Australia in the military, and what's really come out of it though has been that once upon a time you had to be a large company to work with defence. The Northern Territory has the capability, and companies in the Northern Territory has the capabilities to deliver that product. Someone messaging me to deliver the products as required, and we have top quality construction companies up here that can do it. So that's been a big message from I know the master builders have been a big push to the defence, and with many meetings, and they're actually starting to get some groundwork, and that is getting traction now. The beauty of that is, if we've got Northern Territory companies tendering on the work and producing the work, that means the money stays in the Territory, and a lot more of it stays in Territory, which is great for the Territory economy and great for the public. So that's a quick update on what's happening there. Real skills supporting community projects. Great news, 10 Indigenous men are walking tall after completing an intensive course in heavy machinery, and this is really good news to see this happening, and a lot more of this will be going on as time goes on. There's a huge amount of more Indigenous engagement with businesses and communities going, and it's all about getting not just the engagement, but getting the skills in the areas for that to continue on and continue jobs in all those different areas. So that's a great news story. Well, Alice Springs has been having some challenges with crime, and one of the members there in Alice Springs has asked for the feds to jump on board and fire things up. So she's written a letter to the Prime Minister Scott Morrison detailing town's relentless crime wave, adding that she believes it is a result of the Royal Commission into Protection and Detention of Children in the Northern Territory. Look, it does go a bit hand in hand. After the Royal Commission, there definitely appears to be a spike in juvenile offenders, and why that's the case could be the fact that the publicity that had happened out of it, but we'll wait and see. So I have my own views on how you can stop that, but probably will not be taken on board very well. Okay. Letters. So letters to the editor. Let us discuss a stealth line like which Holden shut down its business in Australia. And it said that the PM was only given 15 minutes notice, this decision being announced, and it's not and this is rather untidy. Yeah, look, it was, I was a bit shocked to hear actually with the PM's comments, and I think he's shot it from the hip, and good on him. And it's good to see that he's actually standing up with a bit of balls. But there's been a lot of money put into the brand and to keep it going, and as I said, it's pulled back. Okay, so the coronavirus, wake up call on tourism. I think sometimes you don't realise how things tick over until you have a crisis come through and what effects it can have. So our tourism industry is going into meltdown over the coronavirus effect. Let this be a wake up call to this country, as we have placed too much emphasis on tourism as a panacea for financial viability, and that's true. All it needs to destroy this misguided in the world pandemic, currency collapse, or a major conflict, and tourism is left like a shag on a rock. And you think about it: if you're not secure, jobs aren't secure, finances aren't secure, you're not generally going to go touring around. And I think tourism and holidays are looked as a luxury more so than a necessity. So as soon as you have something like that happening, then what stops? General holidays. So we've allowed politics and bureaucracy to kill off our manufacturing industries just to appease the UN, IMF and World Bank bosses to make Australia prime for Agenda 21 takeover. If you don't know what Agenda 21 is, jump on and Google it. You'll soon get a bit of information on that. So we need governance that will stop the bleeding of Australian revenue to foreign countries and put this revenue into rebuilding our industries to make this country financially viable again. Also, we need a governance to tell the UN, IMF and World Bank to bugger off, and that we will no longer pay back money borrowed, as we have put up with enough of their destructive directions and hold this country back. NWH Tims. Look, got to admit, so often how many times you see money going out of Australia to support other countries, yet we have our own challenges here, and it sounds a bit like what Mr. Trump's done, where he sort of stood his ground and gone, hey, let's look after number one. And I think Australia needs to look after one. You talk to the majority of people, and that is the consensus is we should be looking after number one, should be looking after Australians first. So, and another one here from BFC, last one for the day, and that is solution to fracking woes. I have a concern that I think I have a simple solution to. Get ready for this. There are disagreements which are damaging communities and families about fracking in the territory, and it will get more people to the ballot box. And the last time I looked, whoever gets elected represents the people who put them there. Bit of a mouthful that. My solution is to put a simple yes or no vote for fracking in the territory, as it would benefit all parties and save lives. Thank you. BFC, common sense. There you go. Well done. Well done. How many times have we had decisions made, and I'll use the instance of the gay marriage for one. I have no issues with the gay marriage. I was annoyed at the way it was run. Why do we have to have such a disruption to put to a vote about gay marriage when at the next election we could simply just put a ticker box exactly like this on the election ballot that says yes or no to gay marriage? Anything else that stands for a decision making like that should be saved until the ballot, put a box in and tick away. So I think this is a fantastic idea. As I said, fracking can be a huge benefit for the territory, but there's a lot of both sides to it. I'm in support for economic reasons, but I'm also very wary that of the environment reasons as well. So perfect chance to actually do that, to do it. Put the box there and are you for or are you against, because then it really gives a true indication of the decision, and then all parties can understand what that is. But thank you for that. I will be trying to do this a little bit more updated, keep everyone updated of what's happening in the Territory, any news. Try not to make it too political. I try not to waste time on politics, but it's always good to know what's happening in investment, what's happening in the country, what's happening around the Territory. Thank you, enjoy, and talk to you next time.